Hello everybody and welcome to this lesson from Miss Duckle's classroom. Today we're going to be looking at how to analyse a literature extract, and this is part 1 of a 2-part series. We're going to be looking today at the novel Purple Hibiscus, and this is for the CIE IGCSE 0475 or 0992 syllabus for paper 1. So first of all, let's just consider what are the assessment objectives and how do we ensure that we're meeting them within this paper. So we'll start with AO1. AO1 is all to do with your understanding. So can you prove that you've got a good understanding of the extract, who is involved, what is happening, why this particular section is significant to the overall story? This is all about how well you know the novel, the characters, the events, the themes, the relationships and the development. It also is about the reference to the text. This is to do with your quotations. AO2 is all about the deeper meaning, so the different attitudes and ideas. Think about these overarching big questions or big ideas that the writer is tackling throughout their work. Think about how you are using your skills of inference, but also how you are interpreting meaning. Think about the writer's intention or their message. Why have they written this novel? What are they hoping to express to you? What do they hope that you will understand? What are they trying to convey? And also any relevant contextual information. Please don't just use contextual information as a bolt-on in any of your essays. Use context to help you develop your interpretation and your understanding of the themes or the ideas. AO3 is your ability to understand the different methods that a writer uses. So this is an understanding of how events, characters, relationships are presented, and the focus here really is on the how. Rather than the what do you know, it's how do you know it. So think about language, structure and form and how all of these work together to create meaning. You must also show that you know why have they been used, what is the writer hoping to achieve here. And AO4 is all to do with how you then write up your response. This is to do with how you present your ideas in a coherent way, how you build your response, how you navigate through your essay, and how you develop that personal and relevant response to the question. So let's have a look at the steps that we go through in order to approach this question. I do like to break everything down into steps. I think it makes things very, very manageable, but also means that it's easy for you to remember and then just to replicate the same steps in both practices and with your real exam. So the question we're going to be looking at today is this: how does Adichie make this such a significant moment in the novel? And I will show the extract in a second. So we have 6 different steps here. The first one is just to simply read the question, deconstruct it, figure out what it means, highlight the key words, think about what they mean, identify your focus. And you can write these on top of the extract as well. You can just jot little notes down to keep you focused. Then once you're clear on what it is you're looking for, you read the extract. Think about where it's from, what's happening, who is involved, where it is, why it's significant. All of these different questions are very, very important in helping you to gain an overview of this extract and to remember its part within the full novel. Then you're going to consider the big ideas that are presented here. Brainstorm some different ideas and keywords that you could use to describe what's happening in this extract and what is being presented. Then you go through and you highlight anything relevant to the question. So I would just make sure you've got a good understanding of what this extract is about and what's being shown to you before you then go through and start to highlight quotations that you may use in your answer. Once you've highlighted the quotations that stand out that you think are interesting or engaging, then you can kind of think about what would you say about your examples, what do they show, are there any patterns, any language features that you can comment on, any quotes that you can link together. Try and analyse these, and this will give you a solid foundation for when you do actually write up your essay. And then you can plan. This is where you eliminate any of the quotations that you don't want to use. You've probably got a wealth of quotations that initially stood out to you, and then once you start to hone your ideas and decide, well, actually I want to talk about these 3 different things, then you may decide that some of your quotations are no longer relevant. So first of all, let's have a look at number 1. So let's read the question, think about what we've been asked to do here. How does Adichie make this such a significant moment in the novel? So obviously our focus here is the word significant. So we're looking for what is important here in this extract, what is interesting, what stands out, why is it important, what are we being shown? So that word significant is really our driver here. And this is the extract. Now I'm not going to read the extract through with you. What I'd like you to do is just to pause the video here, have a quick read through, and then you will understand what it is that I'm talking about when I go through it. So just pause the video now. Okay, so step 2 is read the extract, and then just to make some notes on where it's from, what's happening, who is involved. Try and do this relatively quickly, but do have those notes down because they will guide you later on. And you can also start to identify any big ideas, any overarching themes or ideas that you see being presented in this extract. At this point, if you're at the actual real exam, you will have a very good understanding of the novel, and you will be able to look at the extract and immediately pull ideas from your memory. So this is my initial note taking. Now obviously yours may not be as detailed, but I just want to show you the variety of things that you could say. So this is kind of a combination of my steps 2 and 3. So these are my notes. So I've made notes on, first of all, the significance of the extract itself. And I'm thinking about, what do I see? What is presented to me? What is Adichie showing me? And then I will start to think about the hows and the whys, which is where I focus on the quotations. So these are the different things that I think that I see. And a lot of these things don't just appear in this extract. They appear at various different points in the novel. And that's why I'm saying once you've got a good understanding of the novel itself, you'll be pulling ideas from lots of different areas. There's nothing new in this extract that we don't see anywhere else. Sometimes you will get a character that's introduced or an idea, but still you have a lot of the similar themes that are being reused. So what we do see here is the family dynamic and how it changes when Auntie Ifeoma is introduced. We see Auntie Ifeoma speaking to Papa in a different way to the others. And what's significant here is the narrative perspective, Kambili's reaction to this. We see Auntie's fearlessness and how this is viewed by Kambili. We also see the tension caused by the different beliefs between Papa and Auntie Ifeoma, and this is all down to the cultural conflict, which actually runs all the way through the novel. We see how culture is presented through speech. So we have the different speech patterns of each of the characters. So we have the formal English, but then we have the Igbo coming in as well from Auntie Ifeoma. So that really stands out. So that's something that I chose to note down here. The symbolism of the lipstick. The lipstick is a symbol that you see at multiple different points throughout the novel. So it's interesting that it also appears here. We have this motif that again all the way through the novel we see silence versus speech does appear here. So what you should be doing as well is looking out for constants that you get throughout the novel anyway, looking out for anything that you are familiar with and seeing how it's being presented in this particular extract and why it's presented in that way. We've got the contrast between these two main characters here, and they both represent different family structures, which we do start to see towards the end of the extract where Kambili describes her cousins to us. We also get this freedom that's presented through the character of Auntie Ifeoma and, like I said, at the end throughout her children. And we have power. Power runs through the entire novel, not just with the characters, but for them as a microcosm of what's happening in the political landscape of Nigeria at the time. But we do see this power dynamic not only between Papa and Auntie Ifeoma, but we see how Papa's power is kind of presented here and how it's maybe structured in a very, very different way to what we're used to, which is interesting. Now, these are things that I already know about the novel and the themes. Now, you may not write this down. If you're very, very confident in your knowledge of the novel, you may choose to skip this step. You may just hold this all in your memory. But I sometimes choose to jot ideas down because what I find is that once you've got something like this, then all you're really doing is going through, thinking about the key words that you're using and thinking about which ones of those you can actually then take and pull into an essay. So what I already know about the novel is that silence can be very, very powerful, and that links into some of the ideas I already have on the extract. Family is very, very significant. Freedom is presented in lots of different ways throughout the novel. And control and tyranny is really something that's presented very heavily in many different aspects of the novel. And like I said, also as a microcosm of society in Nigeria at the time. What I already know about the characters and their relationships, I know Papa is very religious. I know that he controls his family. He favours the West. He dislikes traditional Igbo culture. I could probably use that if I'm talking about the different language and the different words that Papa and Auntie Ifeoma use. I know that Kambili both fears and admires her father. That's set up for us towards the beginning of the novel. I know that Auntie Ifiomia and Papa continue to be contrasted by Adichie. Their family structures are contrasted, they're juxtaposed in the way that they head their families. I also know that Papa dislikes what his own Papa represents in terms of culture and tradition, and we do get elements of culture and tradition here within this extract. And just to make a list of words and phrases that describe what I feel that I'm seeing in this extract. And again, these are things that you could just pull right into your essay. All of these are really, really important because it is very, very easy to forget as you're writing your essay. So if you've got all of these words and phrases, then you can easily just embed them throughout your essay. So what I see overarching in terms of the big ideas in this extract, the idea of the legacy of colonialism, tradition and how it's viewed and presented through our different characters, control and oppression, culture, the different relationships that we see, the different dynamics, silence versus speech, and the contrast between characters. So these are all of the different ideas that I will just be jotting down as I'm reading back through the extract. So you kind of pair it with your reading. You don't have to wait until you've read the extract and then spend ages writing all of this down. And again, you don't have to go in as much detail as I have, but I just want you to be able to see my thought process as well. So what we have here as well is we have the references to AO1 and AO2. So all of these notes, if I do use them effectively and I do use the keywords, I'm hitting our AO1 and our AO2 here. So now we're at the point where we can go back through and highlight anything that is relevant to the question and the ideas that we've already brainstormed. And you can think about what you might want to say about your examples, or you may want to leave this step until after your plan. And I will show you how you can kind of do either or, depending on what you think suits you. So as you go through the extract, you should be looking for a variety of different things. So you've got your initial ideas, but now what we want to do is we want to hone in on how. How does Adichie show us all of those things that I've already made notes on? How do we see this idea of silence versus speech? How is control and oppression presented? How do we know that there is a difference in this relationship between Papa and Auntie Ifiomia and Papa and other people? How do we know these things? And these are some of the things that you could be looking out for. Again, I'm not going to read through this list, and it's not an exhaustive list. It's just a list that I've compiled to help you kind of focus yourself as you're reading, so to kind of pick out any interesting aspects of the extract that you could use in your answer. So if you do just want to have a look at this in more detail, just pause the video now and have a bit of a read through. Okay, so this is what I've now done with the extract. So I've brainstormed my ideas. Now I'm at the stage where I can go through and I can select all of the different quotations that I think I will be able to use. Now, as you can see, you can look at this and you can see that I'm not going to be able to talk about all of these quotations. They're not all going to fit into my essay, and that's absolutely fine, because what you will do is you will eliminate the choices that you don't want. At this stage, you could go through and you could add your notes, or you could wait until you have gone through your final eliminations and you've got your plan. I also want to point out to you how I've organised my my colours here. So what I always think is a good thing to look out for is any patterns, any groups of ideas, because that then means that what you're naturally doing is you're naturally creating a point that you can talk about, and you're grouping quotations and obviously giving yourself more than one quotation per point. So it would be nice if you were able to embed 2-3 quotations for each overarching point that you make, rather than just focusing on one quotation. It's good to have a breadth of quotations to show that you're able to select multiple different pieces of relevant information. Now you can see that I've got several for each different colour, and I will explain to you what each of these mean and why I've decided to group them in this way. Now, it may be that you don't have highlighters and you don't do it in this way. Equally, you could use numbers instead. So you could go through and highlight everything that you find interesting and then start to number the ones that are similar. So then if I was to do that, all of my greens would be number 1, all of my yellows would be number 2, and all of my pinks would be number 3. As you're doing this as well, you're looking out for quotations that you know you can talk about. Please don't pick quotations that you think, well, I like it, it's nice, but I can't see a technique in there. I can't see any interesting language in there. I don't know what I would analyze. I don't know how I would interpret meaning. If you don't know what you're going to say about the quotation, don't choose it. Choose quotations that will help you, that you've got a lot to say about. So once you've highlighted, then you can start to make a plan, and it'd be much more visual for you, be able to look at everything that you've highlighted. And if you have grouped them, as I have grouped them, then a plan will start to naturally formulate. Think, oh, actually, all of these quotations link to silence, so I'm now going to have a section of my essay on silence. Some of these actually show a contrast between characters, so part of my essay is going to be about how Adichie shows a contrast in characters. So by grouping your quotations as you're highlighting, you're naturally creating an essay plan as you're going. So this is where you as well decide which examples do I not want to use. They're no use to me. They're not interesting enough for me to comment on. I don't know what I would say about it, and actually I don't think it fits in any of the ideas that I'm already thinking about with regards to my plan. Think about the various different ideas that you now have in response to your question. You should be thinking about maybe 3, so you've got 3 main sections in the body of your essay, and then once you've got your ideas, then you can decide which piece of evidence goes with each idea. And again, by grouping initially as you're highlighting, this should help you with that and help you to make that decision. And then once you've decided, you can then start to think, how is my idea shown in this evidence? You can then start to do your analysis or your annotations of the quotations if you hadn't already done it at the stage of reading and highlighting. Think about the techniques used by Adichie, think about the language choices, and then think about, why is it presented in this way? Why does she use these particular techniques or methods in her writing? So we go back to this, so let's not forget that we have this. So I've made all of these notes. I definitely want to make sure that I can use them, and these can be used to help with your points. So already there's so many different key words in here. We've got freedom, silence, power, control. These are fantastic words to drive some of the ideas in my essay. They can also help with the explanation. So when I'm trying to explain quotations or explain my ideas and interpretations, I can use some of these that I already have. Helps you with your inference. Some contextual references. I have a contextual reference here. If it fits, I will put it in. If it doesn't fit and it doesn't naturally add something to my point, I'm not going to try and force it. And a lot of this can also help with Adichie's intention and message. So having this in front of you as you plan, but also as you write up your essay, will really help you, especially if you're forgetting a few things. It just kind of jots your memory and helps you to know what to include. So this is my plan. Okay, now obviously I've got here this big planning table. I'm not telling you that you need to do your planning table. A lot of what I do here is to help you visually imagine what it is that I'm doing so you can replicate it yourself. And actually you can do your plan partly on the extract itself, just to save time. All I'm actually going to do here that's not on the plan, that's not on the extract, sorry, is just jot down my points. So from looking back at the extract and looking at how I've highlighted and how I've grouped, and also looking back at these, I've been able to identify 3 different things that I want to comment on. I have 3 different ideas. My first point or idea is that Adichie effectively presents the power and fearlessness of Anti-Iphiomia and the effect that this has on Kambili. Adichie creates a sense of tension and conflict through the interaction between Papa and Anti-Iphiomia. And Adichie continues to convey the significance of silence and speech within this extract, because it's already been set up for us at the beginning of the novel. Now all I have to do is decide which quotations that I'm going to use, and rather than copy them out here, which will take time, I'm just going to number them. This is point 1, this is point 2, this is point 3. Therefore any quotations I want for point 1 are going to be number 1, and the same for 2 and 3. So I'm going to number them. I'm going to think now, what am I going to keep? Why am I going to keep it? How does it reinforce my point? Thinking about the language, the techniques, and I'm going to add notes as I make my final selections. And at this point, I would just like to point out there are many videos on Miss Duckworth's channel under the micro lessons playlist. There are so many lessons that you can use to help you with the specifics of writing an essay. And for this section, you could go to the micro lesson on how to write points and find relevant quotations, and also how to embed them. So if you need any help with specific essay skills, do go and have a look at my micro lessons playlist. Okay, so this is the extract from earlier. I haven't changed the colour coordination of my highlighting and my selection of quotations, but what I have done now is I've shown you the next stage of what I would do, is I would then number them. So if we have my first point, Adichie effectively presents the power and fearlessness of anti-Ithomia, I now need to go and have a look at which quotations I would use, and you can see that I've actually just decided on two. I'll have this quotation here and this quotation here, and you can see that I've actually chosen 3 quotations for point 2 and 2 quotations for point 3, and you can see the ones that I've decided not to go for. And my choices are based upon which ones I think are relevant, but also which ones I think I can talk about in detail. So for example, number 1 here, I've decided, well, I can talk about the clauses here, so I can talk about a method and why I think it's been used. It shows Camille's panic. Also emphasises how unusual this is. Also signifies anti-Ithomio's power as well. And I've done the same here, so I've just done a few notes, and the notes here do help you when you're writing your essay. What you really want to have done at the point of writing the essay, you've done all the hard work, you've chosen your quotations, you've done your analysis, you've got notes and keywords that you can use, and all you're doing for the essay is bringing it all together. So all of these notes, all I will do is just pull them into my essay and just put them into full sentences. So here I've just decided I like this quotation, and what I like about it is the word exaggerated. And I've got multiple interpretations here. Perhaps it suggests that she's mocking him. She's, it's exaggerated. So maybe she's going a little bit too far with this to mock him, which is something that nobody else is able to do. Or it could show that she's trying to placate him because she knows that he is quite a formal person, and he does kind of represent this, she does call him a product of colonialism, so he does prefer Western ways of being. So maybe she is trying to placate him by acting in a way that she knows he would respond to. So I've got multiple interpretations there. So we're almost finished. So now you have what you want to say with regards to this extract. You know why it's significant. You've got ideas. You've also got a range of evidence that you can use. You've analysed, or you should have analysed at this point, different techniques or language choices that you can comment on, various notes peppered throughout the extract, and a clear plan in terms of the points that you want to make, the quotations that you could use to back up your ideas, and then a few different ideas on what you would say about them. You can now use this to write up your answer in detail. And before I go, I just want to reinforce for you that all we've really done today is just follow steps. And if you can remember those steps, then you'll be putting yourself in a position of less stress really when it comes to your exam. So what you can do is you can use the dream technique to try and remember everything we've done so far today. We've started by deconstructing the question, then read the extract, tried to understand it, highlighted different areas of it, then analyse the choices that we've made in terms of what we've highlighted. We eliminated irrelevant or weak choices, quotations that we couldn't use, and then we've made a plan. So thank you very much for taking part in this lesson. I really hope it's been helpful for you. Do look out for the next one, which is how to write up your answer, and it's also where I go through a model answer as well. Thank you very much. Goodbye.